Hi guys, and welcome back to another tutorial. So in this video we're going to be making this panel gown. We actually need a basic bodice front, and then from the shoulder up onto your knee length. I'm gonna have to impute my darts, side bust dart, waist length, waist dart, and also I will be going ahead to draw my my side seam, princess seam dart. Yes, princess seam dart. And from my neckline, I went in already by 2.5 inches, and then from 2.5 inches I'll be going in by 3.5 inches, just so I could get where I want my yoke to fit in. I'm going to use my French curve to draw the shape of the yoke. So having done that, now I'll go ahead to mark 0.8 inches on both sides of my under bust, using the bust apart measurement as my center. Okay, then I'm going to be joining this from my bust point. If you've been seeing my tutorials, if you've been following my videos, then you should get used to how to manipulate that to get a princess seam by now. That is exactly what I am doing. I'm using my marker now to get these things visible so you can actually see what I am doing. I'm gonna have to label the yoke. So I will be going in with my scissors to cut out the yoke, so just so I separate it from the main bodies. And I haven't done that, I'm going to keep it aside. Okay, now I'm going to be working on manipulating my darts to get my princess seam. Okay, I am going to be marking 3 inches down. I'm going to be marking 3 inches downwards, all up until the knee length of this gown, or whatever length you're using. That 3 inches happens to be my bust part, which is also the center of where I took my darts. So I'm going to be marking it all up onto the knee length, or wherever the length of your gown is. So I'll be manipulating my darts here to get my princess seam. This is also what I've already been doing in my former tutorials, so yes, it's basically what I'm also doing here now. Having done that, I'm going to close up the dart at the side bust, and I am going to be taping it down using my masking tape. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up, okay? And share this video to platforms where you think it will be needed. From that 3-inch line, I am going to be cutting up until where my dart stops, and then I'll start eliminating the dart. I'll cut up until where my dart starts, then I'll start eliminating the dart, just as you're seeing me doing in this video. Also, do not forget I contoured my underbust already, just so it gives that feminine look. Okay, so I'll go ahead to eliminate the darts, because we want these very bodies to be fitted at the upper parts without having any joining between the waist length and between the waist, that's the half length, and the upper bodies and the lower bodies. We don't want any joining, and still we want it to be fitted, so we have to eliminate the dart. I'm gonna head to label my underbust half length, just so I don't make mistakes when I am manipulating the patterns to get my paneled flare. I also label the hip on both sides of the patterns. Okay, be sure you label properly, do not get confused with the lines. I'm also labeling the knee. So having done that, now I'll make sure knee, my labels are in place, hip, half length, under bust. Okay, I'm also going with my marker to smoothen out this very particular side front bodies. Okay, the side front, especially at that princess seam, that bust side, just so it's natural and looks like a breast. We don't want that pointed fit that makes it look immature and you look like, it doesn't really look good. So we're going to smoothen it out so it just laps freely on your bust and looks natural like your bust also. So having done that, now I'll go ahead to just check what I've done and be sure that I'm in line and there are no mistakes. Just check what I've done and be sure that there are no mistakes. So having done this, now I'm going to be manipulating this front pattern that has the center front. As you can see, the place that is straight is my center front, which is supposed to be cut on fold in the fabric. We are cutting on fold because this is a 6-paneled flare, 3 in front, 3 at the back. So from the hem of your garment, you're going to be cutting just like you're dividing it into 2, up onto your waistline. Do not go above the waistline, up onto your waistline. Then the very part that you're going to be attaching to your side front bodice, you're going to be cutting into 2 and not through, just so it helps you to spread it apart. Because if you do not cut to that very point, you won't be able to spread it. Okay, so having done this now, I'm going to be using a fresh pattern paper. I think I actually used white because the dress also is white, and more so you see what I'm doing and you understand what I'm doing clearly. Okay, so having done this now, the paper is on fold, your fabric too. If you are using your fabric is on fold. So now I am going to be taping this down. Okay, especially the part on fold, you need to hold it in place, so just so it doesn't move around. Okay, now having done this, now I want to measure my hemline, how wide I want the flare to be. Okay, I want to measure how wide I want the flare to be. I actually measured 5 inches here. Now I've measured 5 inches here. Now that's how wide I want my flare to be. Remember, when I turn it open, it's going to be 10 inches. So I'm going to use my masking tape to hold that down. I'm going to use my masking tape to hold it down, just so I keep it in place and not move. But I found out that 5 inches is actually small, so I decided to add an additional 1 inch to it, just so I can widen the flare a little, making it 6 inches at my hemline. So I am going to be taping it down now. Yes, I've taped it down just so I hold it in place. Just be sure you tape it down, or whatever you're using, you can use a pin or any strong object to hold the pattern down so you can work on the fabric that you're cutting. Okay, so having done that, something else that is very important. Yes, I found out that actual position I was in, and you guys weren't actually seeing what I was doing clearly, so I had to switch positions. I think it's because this is a dress, and it's actually, my knee length is actually long, so I wasn't really comfortable seeing what I was doing there. Just in case, I had to cut the pattern paper on this very fresh one, and I'll be repeating this process in the side front pattern, so you want to see it fully in the side front pattern. Okay, this is just a recap of what I did before cutting it out on this white fresh paper. This is just a recap of what I did before cutting it out on this fresh white paper. So I just had to cut all through up onto the top, and I marked my notches half length on the bust and bust point. Be sure to put these notches so that you're sure you're fitting in where it's proper and where it's supposed to be. So I've opened it up. This is what your center front should look like. This is what the center of your first panel, which is in front, should look like. Now working on the side front panel, if you do not understand what I did for the center front, now it's time for you to look closely so you understand what I'm doing here. But I bet I explained that center front properly. So I've gone ahead to label. Remember the underbust, the half length, your hip, and your knee or your hemline, wherever yours is going to stop, your hemline. So same thing, I'm going in from the hemline, like I'm dividing this very particular pattern into 2 up until my half length, and also going on by both sides. This time around we're going on by both sides. I'll be cutting 2 and not through. We're going on by both sides because we're going to be spreading both sides. But for the center front, we had to cut 2 on the waistline on one side because we are spreading just that side. Okay, so I'm spreading on both sides, and I went in to cut 2 and not through from my half length. I'm going to also put this on a fresh white pattern paper, which also could be your fabric, and I'm going to be spreading it. You want to spread as much as your fabric can carry. I think if you're a size 6 size 8. The minimum fabric you need for this dress is 4 meters of fabric. 4 meters of fabric, so you'll be comfortable and sew it well. I think anything below that will make you like start mising fabric and mising space. Okay, actually my fabric wasn't enough here, so I had to join more paper to it so I could get the kind of flare I want. So I haven't done that now. I've decided to spread it apart on this fresh pattern piece. I'm also going to be taping this down just so I hold it in place and it allows me to work on it. Also, I'm going to be marking the distance I want my flare to be. I'm trying to mark a distance that will be favorable to the amount of fabric that I have. Okay, I'm trying to mark a distance that will be favorable to the amount of fabric that I have. You can spread your own as wide as you want, but be sure not to spread too much so that you won't be having a wedding gown. Okay. I actually used 7 inches here. In the front I used 6 inches and by the sides I used 7 inches. You can use 7 on both sides. If your fabric is more, you can use something bigger. Okay, so I'm gonna have to tape that down. Now this is a very crucial part of this work. You want to take your measurement from the half length down to your hemline, and whatever you get, you make sure that the same measurement goes round. As you can see, I'm marking it around half length all the way to my hemline. Mine is 20 inches and I'm marking 20 inches just all the way round. All the way round. You know why we're doing this? So we get a round hemline. We don't want it to just be straight. So we just get a round hemline, and it's actually going to make the flare look very beautiful. Look like a flare and not make it look boxy and straight. Okay, so I'm marking all the way from my hemline, from my half length down to the hemline, and I'm taking it down. As you can see, it's giving that curved shape. Okay, so again I'll go in with my ruler. You know that we don't want that curved hip part. This is actually a flare. We don't want that curved hip part, so I'll be going in with my ruler now to work on that curved hip part. Okay, going in with my ruler, I'll place it on that very curved hip, and I'll be using my ruler to take off that curvy part of the hip, and I'll be joining this line from my waistline down to the hemline, removing that very curvy part and making it straight. Okay, I think some inches, about half inch would go off, but that's not a problem. About half inch would go off, but that's not a problem. Okay, just take it down, take it off, and join from your half length with a straight line to the hem. Whatever that goes off, about half inch, that shouldn't be a problem, because the allowance inside should measure up for that. So I'm going to be cutting exactly what I used my packer, exactly what is, or what my paper gave me, or what you used your chalk to draw. Okay, so having done this now, this is what my side front bodice looks like. Remember to impute your notches, very very important, just so they align with the center front bodice. And I'm going ahead now to use my scissors to mark those notches out. So now I have 2 pieces of my center front, of my side front, and also my center front. This is what you should have when you're done working with your center front. So now the whole of our front bodice is ready. Let's move straight to the back bodice. So on the back bodice also, I'll be working on the back bodice just so I get my flared panel. Okay, on the back bodice I'll be working on it just so I get my flared panel. Do not forget your center back where you're going to be attaching your zipper for this dress. The front bodice has a princess seam, so the back also is going to be having also a princess seam. So how do I get my back princess seam? From the shoulder, I extended from the shoulder 1 inch out of the shoulder. I actually added an extra fabric because I'm actually extending the shoulder now. I extended 1 inch out of the actual shoulder of this basic bodice. As you can see me taping down a white paper because I'm extending 1 inch out of actual shoulder of this pattern. The reason for that is because of the dart that I took at the center of the shoulder, the mid shoulder. So I want to replace it, just so when I close it, the shoulder line comes back to the normal measurement. Okay, just imagine if I've taken 3 inches as my shoulder measurement, minus that 1/3 inch, minus the 1/3 inch, because I'm going to be closing it up. So when I've closed it up, the extra 1 inch that I extended is going to measure up for the one that I closed up. That's basically the technique. That's just the trick there. Okay, the distance of that is 2 inches also, and I'm also going to make that actual extension 2 inches in length and not in width, in length, and I'm connecting that length to my shoulder, the shoulder of the back bodies. So having done this now, at the very particular point, any point you feel free you want to make your princess seam, from that point use your curve rule, your French curve, to draw that line of that princess seam. So having done now, I'm going to use my scissors to take off the dart, the 1 inch dart, from the mid shoulder. Remember that line of the center of the dart went all the way straight to the bust point of the back. Also, I'll be cutting to and not through for my princess seam, and I'll be closing up that dart at the mid shoulder, just so I open it up at my princess armhole princess seam. Just as I open it up, I open up that mid shoulder, the mid shoulder dart at my armhole line that I drew, which is going to be my princess seam. Also, I'm taking off excesses that I wouldn't be needed. So having done this now, I've actualized the princess seam, and I'm going to be taping down when necessary. I'm taping down when necessary, just so I hold it in place and it wouldn't move around. So having done that now, it's same procedure with the front. I'm also taking 3 inches, which is also my bust apart measurement at the back, all the way to the hemline. Just as you can see me doing now, I'm taking 3 inches all the way to the hemline. And having done this now, I'm going to be using my ruler to connect the lines, just so it forms a straight line. Please, if you have not subscribed to this channel, do well to subscribe. Click the bell notification so that you'll be the first to get a video when we post one. Okay, so I'm going from that hemline on that 3 inch mark, also eliminating my dart when I get to where the dart starts. Okay, just like I did for the front, the technique is the same here. If you've understood the front part, then you shouldn't have any problem understanding this very part, because it's the same thing. So I'm done eliminating the dart at the back, and having done that now, I'm going to be working on the center back. This is what you should be having when you're done manipulating on your princess seam. So I'm going to be working on the center back. Okay, I'm actually checking if this camera is recording a minute. Okay, just same thing as we did for the front bodies. You're going to be cutting like you're dividing into 2 up onto your waistline, and you cut to and not through the part where you want to spread. So on a fresh pattern paper, which is actually a fabric, this is on fold, remember to include your zipper allowance. Okay, I'm going to be taping this down, and just what I did at the front, I'll also be doing it here. The same technique. Okay, I'll also be going in by, I went in by 5 inches, I think so. Yeah, 5 inches. I went in by 5 inches. You can spread your own as much as you want, so long as your fabric will be enough. But do not overdo it. Excessity of it wouldn't be nice, except if you're making a wedding gown. But if it's not a wedding gown, then do not make it to be in excess. Just let it be moderate, okay? So, having done this now, I'm going to be marking out the necessary points and I'm going to be cutting this off. Be sure you cut off following the exact shape of what you have on the pattern paper. As you're cutting on the fabric, follow the exact shape of what you have on the pattern paper. So having done this now, I'm going to be removing this and marking out my notches using my scissors. So I'm going to be cutting this into two because of the center back and the zipper. So this is what you should be having as your center back. I'm going to head also to do the side back. So this is what you should be having as your side back. The whole of our side is ready. So now if you want to stitch the front, what you do is those notches you marked at the underbust, bust point, half length, be sure you pin them down and make sure they've aligned. Once they've aligned, you can start sewing all the way from the down to the top, all the way from the top to the down, whichever way you find it easier for you to do. Just make sure you've pinned those notches and those notches are pinned in place, just so nothing moves around and you don't put something or a particular notch where it's not supposed to be. Make sure they're aligned and you've pinned them in place. Then you can actually sew from the down up onto the up, or from the top up onto the down, whichever way is convenient for you. So I'm going ahead now to tape this down using my masking tape, okay? Leave your comment in the comment section, just in case if there's any question you have concerning this particular tutorial. Leave a comment in the comment section and I'll get back to you ASAP. I'll respond to your comment as soon as possible. Whatever you feel you don't understand, it isn't clear to you, ask your question in the comment section and I'll explain to you as soon as possible, okay? Thank you. So I'm also going ahead now. Having done that, I'm going ahead to hold everything in place using my masking tape, and this is what it looks like actually. Okay, this is what it looks like actually. I hope you're seeing it clearly. So this is what it looks like. Having done that, also I've fixed one side of the back. Okay, so I'm gonna have to fix everything, including the yoke, the sleeve. The sleeve is actually a basic sleeve, so there is nothing much about there to explain. Also, this is the center back with zipper. I actually use the marker to do those things, so you know it's a zipper. Of course, this is also the front of it. I've attached the yoke. Everything is in place. Thanks for watching.